Hey guys, and welcome to Small Place. My name is Ben Wallner from the band SAFIA, heralding all the way from Canberra, Australia. I'm very humbled to have the opportunity to introduce Wayne Martin for this month's episode, and the song that Wayne has chosen to introduce the episode is a song of ours called Resolution. It's probably our most delicate number and delves into the feeling of moving through life in an almost transient state and really looking inward for change. So we're SAFIA, you're listening to Small Plates, and this is our song, Resolution.
Do you wanna get through? You better believe that I think of you. But I'm hearing no sound. You better believe that I call just to figure it out. Still I think about you under the moonlight. The reminiscing holds me back, and on a cold night I hear your voice glide through the cracks. So if it's alright, I need to learn to let you go. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, 'cause I won't think like that. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, I won't think like that. And in every thought that I sink into, and through every door I would think of you. And I was broken, I put the pieces back by hand. Whatever hope went to knowing you would understand. Under the moonlight, I never thought I'd let you go. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, 'cause I won't think like that. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, 'cause I won't think like that. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, 'cause I won't think like that. Are you giving me a resolution? Oh, I won't think like
One day, 9-time Grammy Award nominee Sia gave herself the songwriting challenge of a strict and very short time limit to write a pop song from start to finish. In under 15 minutes, the Australian singer and songwriter wrote Diamonds in its entirety, a song Rihanna recorded and released that went 5 times platinum in the U.S. Sia reportedly said that the official time for the song crafting was 14 minutes. Poet, author, screenwriter, Tony nominee Maya Angelou would rent a room in a local hotel to give herself a location challenge for writing. She would arrive at the hotel at 6:30 in the morning and then write until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's about a standard 8-hour workday for most people. And then she would leave that hotel room and go home, where she would review and then edit what she had created in the hotel for the next few hours. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys authored more than 24 songs that became top 40 hits. It's got to be a record of some kind. And one way he would give himself inspiration to complete his projects was through giving himself rewards. When he completed a new composition, he would allow himself to eat cheeseburgers. Welcome to Small Plates, a podcast dedicated to bite-sized career strategies that creatives and their collaborators can employ while building sustainable careers in the arts. I'm Wayne Martin, your host for this and every Small Plates podcast. Today's featured music for our opening was Resolution by the band SAFIA. If you don't know of SAFIA, I'm happy to be able to introduce you to Ben, Michael, and Harry. And thank you guys for being here on Small Plates. So what did you think of today's stories about Sia, about Maya Angelou, about Brian Wilson? Did you hear a theme? How about today's podcast title, Just Do It? You know, originally I had planned for today's conversation to really speak to inspiration and motivation, maybe to touch on muses. So yes, you could say that's the theme for those quick stories on creative achievements, how to get motivated and how to stay motivated and practice motivation. That's totally reasonable to assume. But I want to reference those experiences from a different perspective, if you'll allow me. I want to address the idea of creative productivity. You see, productivity isn't the same as motivation. Let's affirm that. Productivity isn't the same as motivation. Are you with me? I can demonstrate that by asking you 2 questions. The first question is it possible to be productive every single day? And the second question is it possible to be motivated every single day? Do you get the same answer to both of those questions? Probably not. See, it really is impossible to stay motivated, inspired all day, every day, despite the world around us and the conversations that are inside of us. But that doesn't mean you can't be productive. In fact, if we say we will only be productive when we're motivated, then we're not going to be very productive very often, are we? I'm not talking about the phenomenon of writer's block. I'm actually talking about becoming productive by scheduling your inspiration as a ritual. Ritual is the best word to describe it until it becomes habit. Perhaps my most disciplined client throughout my years working with musicians would wake every morning and while having a first cup of coffee, settle into one dedicated hour of songwriting, songcrafting, every single day. Every weekday, every weekend, every vacation, every hangover, every cold, this musician would write a song every morning. Even Pablo Picasso said that though inspiration always exists, you need to be working towards finding it. And what he was talking about is the subject of productivity. Disclaimer: accepting a schedule means accepting that some of what you will create will be trash. And it's totally permissible to create trash. Here's a personal story. I don't like to exercise very much. So if I start the day by saying, wow, I hope I'm going to feel motivated to exercise today, I'm allowing myself an out, an excuse that, well, if it doesn't strike me as something I'd enjoy or something that I would likely compromise on based on my mood, I'm just not obligated. So guess how little I exercise when I think that way. But if I accept exercise schedule as ritual, I can accept that some of those days are going to be more inspired, some are more fun, some more difficult, more productive. Some I'm going to be watching the clock to get it over with as quickly as I can. Today's 5 strategies may seem a little bit quirky or oddball, or they may sound even completely whacked out to you. Your experience hearing and evaluating today's suggestions are going to likely be binary. You're going to say, oh, okay, I could try that, or oh, no. And that's cool because they aren't just for anyone who hopes to be motivated. They're for creators who will learn to plan their productivity because they've been challenged to do so. And I'm challenging you. You are officially challenged. Productivity strategy number 1 is really easy to explain. I'm almost embarrassed to share it. But you might want something that's basically effortless and easy compared to the others that are coming after it. It's probably not a huge stretch for you to assume that participating in art can help us be motivated to create art, right? So visiting a new installation, watching an unfamiliar film, reading a favorite book, all of that might spark you to create. Specifically, the first strategy or challenge is to grab your favorite earbuds or headphones and then simply sit down and listen to some music. See, this is embarrassingly easy, right? The Mozart effect is a known phenomenon. It's been studied, it's been proven, you can look it up, it's a thing. And the Mozart effect asserts that starting any kind of creative output session by listening to some music by Mozart will launch your brain into a highly functioning gear. For real. Listening to Mozart has a proven effect on human focus. I don't know all the reasons why. It's only Mozart, and I don't purport to understand the methods used to determine this oddball phenomenon, but I do know that listening to Mozart affects your spatial temporal reasoning. And that, my friend, is nothing more than a fancy scientific phrase for the word focus. If I assert that productivity is connected to focus, and that the Mozart recordings positively impact your focus, then we can draw a conclusion that Mozart could impact your productivity. Who knew, right? Strategy number 2 is going to put you in that same chair, but without any musical input. In 2 words, your second strategy is get still. Call it by any name. Free thought, meditation, underthinking, zoning out, quiet reflection. It's all about finding a place of mental stillness after you found a comfortable position of physical stillness. And then you stay there for a long while. I'm not offering any kind of huge revelation that getting still can offer us so many different kinds of benefits. But stillness of the mind also reminds your brain of a quiet factory setting in a world of overstimulation. From mental stillness, many creatives can move afterwards towards new pathways, rearranged priorities, new lenses with which they can observe their own art. And then, of course, new focus towards productivity. But these are not thoughts during stillness. Getting still as an exercise is not problem solving. It's not a prayer. It's not planning. It's just being. It's nothing. In her book, The Joy Diet, Martha Beck says, quote, "Doing nothing is the most productive activity you will undertake," end quote. And there are literally millions of creators on this earth right now who believe that too. Productivity strategy number 3 is specifically for songwriters and musicians of all kinds. And while I'm sure it could be of benefit to other creatives, I'm not convinced that I know how it might easily apply to them. This particular strategy has been championed by 2-time Grammy-winning musician Tom Waits during his own songwriting process. Tom has said his productivity hack is to play up to 5 different music sources in the same room at the same time. You might want to do this when nobody else is home. So what Tom Waits does exactly is listen to multiple musical sources for overlaps. And then he uses what he finds in that process as fodder to create a new composition. Writing songs this way actually has a name. It's called aleatory music, where a portion of the final musical composition is actually left up to chance. The chance here is that something provocative and beautiful comes out of listening up to 5 different random music sources simultaneously. Waits is said to specifically listen for things like progressions and interesting melodies, and that he thinks of this particular exercise as something like ear sampling. Investing in a random occurrence in this way is forcing yourself into productivity by allowing random musical themes into your conscious or subconscious. Now, it's not my personal experience in my job to find productivity this way, but with 7 Grammy nominations under his belt, in addition to his 2 wins, Tom Waits has some credibility when he says it might be worth a shot. Your next productivity strategy, number 4 today, is also about embracing what is random. But there's a little more control in this particular exercise. David Bowie used this technique, and he called it a cut-up. He had a lot of hit songs using this, and you can actually watch him discuss this particular process in a BBC documentary that's available online today. You begin this challenge by writing out words, a lot of words onto paper. Words that are on your mind in the moment. And then once they're all written down, you cut each one out and dump all of the word scraps onto a table. And you begin to arrange them, sensibly or nonsensically, into ideas or phrases that seem to spark in some way. Bowie stated that this way of jumbling up his thinking was really effective for writing his lyrics, but you can actually use this word approach on your first cutout and then expand it. Next time around, you can use each piece of paper to cut out a musical chord, or just individual notes, or notes in a melody, or you can use it for drawings or even photographs. Cutting out photographs and then arranging them in small groups to see what they might mean together, that they don't mean separately. That idea translates well to the creative mind because you take what you've given yourself randomly and you make artistic sense of it by applying structure to what is unstructured. This exercise, should you complete it, is truly unique every time, and it actually sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Strategy number 5. Well, I'm sure you know that when a human loses one of their 5 senses, sight, for example, the brain upgrades the skills of another sense, perhaps hearing, in an effort to compensate. So this challenge is to force that kind of compensation. You're not to speak for an entire day, sunrise to sunset, but instead just to listen. Wow. An entire waking day of not uttering a word to another, of not expressing anything vocally in any way, so that you're shutting down one sense to focus on another, as if your brain was making the accommodation for you. It sounds interesting, but how does being mute impact productivity? There's actually a huge library of medical science behind this. Physically, the act of shutting off speech stimulates the growth of new brain cells. It lowers blood pressure. It lowers cortisol and adrenaline inside your bloodstream. Extended silence builds the immune system. So all those physical benefits, but there are mental and emotional benefits that come out of it as well. It stimulates your memory. It reduces stress. It improves your sleep. That's a lot of benefits. But as creatives and as people who work with creatives, perhaps the most productive workflow result of committing to a day of unspoken communication is that it will stimulate your awareness of sounds, awareness of sensation, your thoughts, your intentions, emotions. I'm going to restate that one to make sure you hold it in your mind correctly. A day of complete silence will stimulate you. And there's a direct correlation between stimulation and productivity. So it's obvious that lack of speech will positively affect your awareness of things, internal and external. And here's an angle I haven't even mentioned yet. What about human speech as perhaps a distraction to productivity? Did you ever think of the other side of it? Well, maybe you can ponder that on your first day of silence. So whether you listen to Mozart to jumpstart your brain functions, or if you get still long enough to empty out your thinking, if you spin 5 playlists in the same room at the same time to make aleatory music, if you use Bowie's cut up and then arrange ideas and thoughts and phrases on strips of paper you treat like puzzle pieces, or if you just decide to spend an entire day without talking, so you are instead focused and forced just to listen, I challenge you to pick one or more of today's 5 bite-sized strategies and to go for it. Sure, there's other ways you can build your productivity, and I know you've come across dozens of them in your lifetime. You can just add on to what you already do. And you can build a vision board. I do. You can take 15 minutes to brainstorm every day. Or you can give yourself a 15-minute time limit to craft a song like Sia. You can read books on productivity. You can stimulate your memories and your emotions with family photographs. You can collaborate with other creators, or you can isolate yourself in a hotel room or at a cabin in the woods like Maya Angelou did. Personally, I'm about to pull a Brian Wilson, and I'm going to reward myself with cheeseburgers every chance I get. I have a quote for you from one of our anecdotal artists today, Maya Angelou, who said, "Nothing will work unless you do." And to that, I'll add, let purpose be your alarm clock. Today's resource recommendation is, again, a book. I think we're up to about half a dozen now. And since so much of today's Just Do It podcast was on songwriting, I am recommending a songwriting book. The author is Mark Cawley, C-A-W-L-E-Y. If you're a frequent listener to Small Plates, you know sometimes the resources here are very tightly aligned to what we talk about, and sometimes it's completely unrelated to that particular podcast. This book is aligned. It's called Song Journey and subtitled A Hit Songwriter's Guide Through the Process, the Perils, and the Payoff of Writing Songs for a Living. Song Journey was first published in 2019. It's very affordable. You can get the paperback online, and it's a resource that's been given to almost every one of my M3 clients who write songs as one of their creative endeavors. Fantastic read. I'm happy to share it with you. Thank you so much for your kind attention today. You know the drill. If today's strategies intrigued you, like, comment, and share, because if it did, it will intrigue others that think like you do. And if you want to send us feedback or some topic ideas, we're getting some really good ones, by the way, please shoot us an email to smallplatessuggestionbox@gmail.com.
You've been listening to Small Plates, bite-sized career strategies for musicians, other creators, and their collaborators, hosted by music manager and veteran career strategist, R. Wayne Martin. Small Plates is a monthly subscription podcast produced by M3 New York City. Click subscribe to receive new Small Plates insights and strategies on the first Friday of each month, only on Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening.